Hello, how's it going? Um, so this video, I'm going to be doing some initial configuration on my router, and you're going to see how it's somewhat similar to the switch, but also somewhat different. So some similarities are going to be that I'm going to give it a host name, and that's pretty much the same command. I'm going to configure the console line and the virtual terminal lines. I'm going to give it the domain name and then get it set up for SSH. What's going to be different though is when I do go to configure the physical interface, well, the sub interface um, for inter VLAN routing, pretty much, or whatever you would call it for having the port tag traffic with 802.1q trunking tags. So let's get into it. I do not want to enter initial configuration, just like the switch. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is issue the no IP domain lookup command because I don't want to make any typos and then be waiting for the router to try to resolve that typo into a domain, pretty much. And I'm going to give it a host name, which is going to be NetLab router 2. Now let's configure the console lines, or line, I guess. And let's configure the VTY lines. And now I'm going to give it the domain name. Just going to define my domain pretty much. Which just the same as on the switch, I'm going to put it as netlab.local. Let's get a enable secret password set up. Encrypt our passwords. And let's generate some cryptography keys for SSH. Oh, made a mistake. define the modulus. Alright, so that's pretty much what is the same between my initial router setup and my switch setup. Now what's going to be a little bit different is getting the sub interface set up on my physical router interface. So let's get into that. First of all, I'm going to make sure that this interface doesn't have an IP address. And make sure it's not shut down. No shut. Alright. And you can see that the state is changed to down because it's not physically connected to the switch yet. And once I do connect it to the switch, that will change. So let's get into the sub interface. And pretty much, I'm just going to call it sub interface 10 because I have VLAN 10 traffic only for now coming through this interface. And we're going to give this one an IP address instead of the, I guess, the mother interface. And don't forget your subnet mask. Oh, I made a mistake. Okay, first I have to do some. I have to tell this the sub interface that it's going to be used for inter-VLAN routing. Pretty much, what it's doing here is saying, okay, this sub interface is going to be adding an 802.1q trunking tag to whichever traffic is coming across this trunk link. So to do that, let's do the encapsulation.1q command and say 10 for VLAN 10. So whatever traffic is coming across this right here is going to be tagged with VLAN 10 traffic. Now, make sure our IP address is good and issue the no shutdown command. Now, I'm not sure if that's actually necessary, but what I noticed is that the CLI isn't screaming at me that I did something wrong after issuing the no shutdown command. Alright, let's try to ping to the switch virtual interface on the switch. Okay. Now this is going to fail because I don't have anything physically connected to the port yet. I just want you to see that there's no connectivity. Alright, next I'll SSH into my switch so I can make that physical port available for trunking. Because from the last video, if you watched that, remember that all except for one of my ports on my switch are assigned to a VLAN for which there's no connectivity. So let's check that out. first of all, let's do, just get into it here. And so pretty much, since this is configured, this physical port right now is configured as an access port instead of a trunk port. And what I have to do is configure it as a trunk port and tell it which traffic is allowed across the trunk. So to do that, all we have to do is remember that when we assigned all of our physical interfaces as access ports, we had to go into the switch port command and tell it if it's going to be an access port or a trunk port. And so pretty much we're going to do the same thing here, but just tell it it's going to be a trunk port. Right. I made a typo. So this is telling my switch that this physical interface is going to be used for trunking and not for access ports. So pretty much it's saying that this link right here is going to be for two intermediary devices like a switch and a router like I've got set up right now to pass traffic over the network, whereas the access port would be for if there was just an end device connecting to that physical interface. Now let's make sure this is not shut down. It should be no shut command. And let's try to ping to the router's interface. Alright, no pings, no nothing. So now let me actually connect the two devices and then we'll try it again. You see in the background here, my line protocol and the interface for my port on the router has been changed to up. Let's try to ping again. Well, we got one response. Now we have 100% connectivity between these two devices. So let's try it on the router here. Success. And I'm just going to copy the running config to the startup config. And the same on the switch. Alright, so that's all I got for this video. If you liked it or you got any, if you found any kind of value out of it, then great. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. If you have anything to add, leave me a comment. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Um, and like I said last time, I know my videos are few and far between. They're not very on schedule. But I'm busy, so I just do this when I have the time. Regardless, thanks for watching and have a great day.